And we're here with Connor Ryan. Connor, what is up?
Evan, doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. Doing just fantastic. We used to do you and Bruins beat every single week. Now it's sort of it's more
Special
scattered.
guest.
There's special guests now. We like to the takes are so hot that it can only be like once every month, once every bunch of weeks. You're back.
Yeah, we gotta
You're
take it
back.
easy. But
Yes,
happy
we
to
got to
be
take it.
back.
Yes, very happy to be back. What's funny is I don't know. I sent this to you. Those Winter Podcast Awards. I'm not sure who is running them, but there are 8 finalist podcasts, and Bruins Beat and Poke the Bear are both in it. So I think both of us can be happy. There's like a fourth of a chance that we're happy.
It's like the two Spider-Man guys pointing at
Yes,
each other. That's what that voting poll is apparently. So, but
yes.
I'll
I
be
don't
I'll
even know
be
if you.
happy. I'll be happy if you take home the honors, Evan. It's a team
Well,
award. So
yeah, well, we do both, so I don't really care who wins, if as long as it's one of us. I'm not even sure how they figured that out. I don't know if people vote. I don't know a lot about it, but happy to be considered. I guess that's a good thing.
I
Never a
guess it means
bad
we're
thing.
doing something right.
Yeah,
So
people. Some people must be happy. Anyways, coming off the All Star break, what do you think of the All Star game? I thought the All Star game itself was meh, and I thought the skills competition was meh, which sucks because usually the skills competition is cool, but this was just nah. It was whatever.
it was
Eh,
fine, and of course, like the NHL just can't get it. They always get in their own way. Like the only like cool part was when you had like Trevor Zegras doing the Peter LaFleur, and it's like this great moment, and then he doesn't even win because
yeah,
dipshit John Hamm from St. Louis like gives Petrangelo the highest score, and they go with that. Like that should be like a joke that John Hamm's rooting for him because he used to be on the Blues. Like it shouldn't be the deciding vote. Like, what are we doing here,
no,
guys? Like, again, for as much as we talk about the NHL having trouble marketing their players or having good personalities, which like you see on some of those things, like during that Bellagio fountain, them like trying to get the guys to riff on each other, doesn't work. Doesn't
yeah,
work if
no,
you don't have willing participants. So you finally have Zagras, who has like that crazy move, doesn't even win. It's like, good
no.
job, guys. Good job. Thanks a lot,
Petrangelo
John
didn't
Hamm.
even.
Thanks a lot, St. Louis.
I know, right? Petrangelo doesn't even score. He just has the
No,
drum line of Vegas people from like up above, and they come in and he just goes down and like takes a wrist shot, and everyone's like, oh, and then like the best part is the crowd reaction afterwards after he doesn't score. They're all like, oh, oh, nice. It's just and the Jack Hughes doing the magician trick, which
hmm
is that's cool. I give respect to creativity, but you're right. Like the riffing on each other, like after he won the MVP, Emily Kaplan asked Claude Giroux, like, "Oh, Ovi's at home with COVID. What do you have to say?" And he's like, "Feel better, maybe. I don't know." And it's just like, "Oh, this weekend's just
No, noted, noted rivals, Claude Giroux and Ovechkin. I mean, like,
yeah, no, noted
this is something
personalities
I
are
don't know
Claude Giroux.
about, but
Yeah, geez. But anyways, weird, whatever. The Bergeron had a goal in the All Star game. It's whatever. I don't know. All Star
yay.
games, like the Pro Bowl on Sunday, was just like, meh. So, I mean, the Pro
Just
Bowl's
go
on a
through the
different level.
motions. Yeah.
Pro Bowl's on a different level of bad. But since it's the All Star break, there's not really a lot to talk about currently with the Bruins. Actually, you know what? There is, and I just remembered this. I did not tell you this before the show, but the Winter Classic is coming back to Boston. Huh.
Yeah. Not
And it's
bad.
going to the best spot, Fenway. That to me is so much better than Gillette. Obviously, I guess it's tough for people who go to the game
Yeah,
who are
it's
sitting like on the
tough
field.
viewpoints. Yeah, that
Yes,
you get
you're not
the
seeing
higher
anything.
the better, guys.
Oh yes, green monster seats should be like what you aim for, which is tough because those cost a little bit of money. But I think I saw some people on Twitter saying like, "Oh, this is 5 outdoor games in 12 years for the Bruins," and that is, I guess, a lot. But they are intriguing matchups. The jerseys are pretty cool, and the Bruins have also been good this entire time. So it's like you're seeing a good team, whereas the Blackhawks, a couple of these years, you're seeing bad teams. What do you think of it?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. Yeah, a lot of people are crying about the fact they're in it, but one, you can only have so many venues. You're not going to go to Sunrise, Florida for a game. It's like at some point you have to go back to the well, I guess, for some of these venues. And if Fenway is one of them, pretty good. And again, it's not like Fenway. It's been 5 years in between games at Fenway. Like you look at what that roster is going to look like next year, especially if let's say like Bergeron's not there. it's going to be a very different roster. A lot has gone on since that Mako Sturm overtime goal against the Flyers. So I think enough time has passed. Obviously, a great venue to check out. I believe the NHL said they're going to do something different with it, which I don't know what that means. Like, is the rink going to be on top of like the cask and flagon roof? Like, I don't know what exactly. I assume it just means they're like shifting like the actual like dimensions of like maybe it's more out in the outfield or what have you. So we'll see what they do there. But regardless, like the whole event itself is great. Going to Notre Dame Stadium, they had a bunch of events for that leading up to it. I'm sure they'll have a bunch of stuff around Boston, as you said, the new sweater design. See what they do there. It's just a great event all around. So for the Bruins, I think it's a great thing to be involved in again. Just with not just the fact the game itself is so unique, but just the event surrounding it and stuff like that. It should be a great time. So again, if you're going, triple layer, get some hot chocolate or a libation or something like that, something that will warm you up. And again, the higher the better. Don't sit like the dugout seats because you're going to be very, very upset.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, it's like a Red Sox game. We got like, Mom, we got these great seats right
No,
along the foul pole. Oh my god, we're in that pesky pole. Don't see anything. You're gonna be watching the game on the jumbotron up above in center field. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do differently about it because in 2010 it was along the infield, if I remember
yeah.
right. It was like first to third. So now I would imagine maybe it's gonna be in the outfield, so
Like, I
more
don't,
outfield people can see it.
are they building like stands out in the outfield and like moving it out there? You get closer, I guess.
That's what
I
I
don't
just thought
know.
of. Yeah, I mean, you could maybe like but then like that sucks. 'Cause all the people who were sitting like
Yeah,
the
then
people who
they
could
get
have been,
screwed. Yeah.
they get screwed. So it's
It's
just I don't know.
people who went in 2010 who sat like around the dugout are mad. It's like, all right, we're not getting fooled this time. We're getting those the further up, and all of a sudden now there's like fake scaffolding in the way, so they can't see. So alas, but
Yeah,
it should be different in some capacity. We'll see what it is because usually it's in July or August where they have the early diagrams of what it's going to look like, and of course it will never end up looking like that, but
yeah.
maybe we'll get a better idea of how they're gonna switch around the rink dimensions at Fenway this time around.
They'll put it on Lansdowne Street. That's what they'll
Yeah,
do, or they'll put
that's
it on like
fine.
David Ortiz Bridge. Maybe that
Oh,
have the pike under it, the scenery of that going underneath the buildings in the back. Maybe they'll
they'll
do
have that
that.
dude with the Jesus sign who's outside every break
Yes.
Boston. He'll be there. He'll drop the puck with Dusty
Yeah.
Gooch.
The Dusty Gooch. He'll be like the guy. Do you remember the dude? This was back in the 2020 Red Sox season, so I won't blame you if you don't remember. Remember the dude who broke
Oh,
in
of course, dude.
and he was standing in the monster and yelled like America, and
Yeah,
maybe him, the Jesus
I thought
guy,
that
and
was
Dusty
ETD.
Gooch. That's what I thought too. But or
Maybe he'll be.
Spoke Z. I thought maybe that could have
Yes,
been Spoke Z. But they those three will drop the puck,
quite the
on that
honor.
game. And it seems like the rumor is that they'll play the Penguins. So I think that's a good
Not
matchup. I'm
surprising.
for it. Yeah,
John
I'm for
Henry's
it.
team,
Yeah.
home game for them. So
Right, legit. Their only home game they could possibly play, and
mhm.
they did it. I am curious though to see what the Penguins do, and I'm glad that's probably going to be their matchup. Because if it was some like Western Conference team, I don't know, whatever. And if it's like some, like if it was like Florida or even like Tampa, like that's cool. But like this is some history with Pittsburgh. I
I
like it.
I
They're
imagine
a good
it's
outdoor
either
team.
it's either going to be Pittsburgh, which makes the most sense, or maybe like the Rangers, which would make sense too,
Yeah.
like Boston, like at Fenway. But still, Penguins make the most sense in that regard. And all things considered, if you're looking for star power, you'll get it with those two teams anyway. If you're
Oh
a
yeah.
national broadcast, so
Yeah. No, they definitely have that. I'm glad it's not like the Canadian. Well, they already did the Canadians. Maybe like the
we don't
Leafs.
talk about that game. That game didn't
Yeah,
happen.
that game never happened. That game was horrendously terrible from every perspective. But anyways, because there's not a lot else to talk about, I figured why not do some predictions because those always turn out great, right? So we're gonna do second half predictions. There are 39 games left in the regular season, so we are kind of over that second half. Like the Bruins are past that, but this is technically the second half, so I'll say that. I don't think we didn't do predictions for this half season. We did them at the beginning of the year. Of course, they're all correct. You went over yours at Boston Sports Journal, so I'll let people go look at that. So I'm not going to go over my preseason predictions because again, they're all right.
Of
Just trust
course,
me. But we're going to try to do two roster predictions each, trade deadline predictions, and then what happens to them in the playoffs or after the regular season ends. So I will let you go first. What is your first regular season prediction?
so I'm gonna switch things up and go for one. that I just thought of in terms of the goaltending situation, which is I
Oh,
think
there
that
we
yeah,
go.
which now that I thought about it, I'm like, oh yeah, we'll probably get some more. Of course, who knows what's going to happen because this podcast will drop and we'll find out what exactly the plan is for Rask. But I'm going to say Jeremy Swayman gets at least 5 starts up with the Bruins to close out the end of the regular season. I think that's not to say that Tuukka Rask season's done or they're gonna end that experiment. I just think whether it's the additional rust that is set in for him where he hasn't played or the nagging injury, that I think the best kind of course moving forward for him is a conditioning loan down in Providence, get some of the rust off. I think you even saw that with um, Matt Murray. I think he went down to the AHL with Ottawa, and again, different
What you see what
situation,
he looks
different.
like now?
Yeah, exactly. He's aged about 400 years since then, um, he went down there, kind of got the rust off, and he's been relatively serviceable for them since then. So, not, again, two franchises at very different points of their tenure, but for the Bruins, if you're able to get Rask down there, shake the rust off without having it hurt the team, having hemorrhage points in the standings if he has a clunker along the way. I think that's the best course moving forward. So if he's down there for 2 3 weeks and it gives Swayman a couple more reps up here, not that all of a sudden it opens the door for him to supplant Rask or Olmark, what have you, but if it just gets him more reps up here and for a younger guy gives him more minutes, it's a good way to make I think all parties happy in the short term because if we go into middle of March, end of March, and Rass is back up to speed. You have Olmark locked in, and Swayman's at the ready and has got more and more reps up at the pro level. Seems like a win-win for all involved. So I'll go with that, even though I'm sure I'll go to practice at Warrior today and Rass will be ready to go. And this prediction will fall short immediately, but I'll throw that one out there for right now.
It's a good prediction. I like that. I mean, I thought he was going to start the Kraken game. I thought he was going to start
Yeah.
the last game before the All Star break. So yes, I agree. I think Swayman will start some games. I remember I was asked that on a radio show, and I was like, "Yeah, I think he'll be up. I think just the way the season works and the schedule, he will be up." My prediction is that Bleed, Nosek, and Lazar becomes the fourth line, and I don't know if that's a very hot take, but I think with Trent Frederick in the picture, Nick Foligno in the picture, those guys are going to be getting reps. But I do think at their best, that is their best fourth line. That is a fourth line that can get you places in the playoffs. It can shut down other teams' lines. It can, wreak havoc in the offensive zone. Lazar and Bleed are wrecking balls. Nosek's got an offensive touch to him, as seen by Cassidy moving him up to the second line at times. But if the Bruins are at their best, that is their fourth line. Cassidy and the Bruins always are good with a good fourth line. Every team's good with a good fourth line. That seems like your best bet. Again, I like Frederick, but I just haven't seen the necessary steps in his game. Like again, we talked about this. We've talked about this numerous times throughout the year, where it's like feels like someone definitely said to him, "Hey, less of the instigator, more of the play the actual hockey game." And it just feels at times he's just not effective in the offensive zone, and not great off the rush. So for me, I think that Bleed Nosek Lazar line is going to end up being the fourth line. So we'll see. We will see with that. We're not going to do a snake draft. I'll let you just go first again. What's your next regular season prediction?
My next prediction is that Bruce Cassidy gives Oskar Steen some reps up with the top line, which I think you saw a little bit of that
Ooh,
up against Arizona. Kind of went away from it, but I think it's definitely an avenue worth exploring. Not only because I think one Oskar Steen's looked pretty good, and I think we've talked about this multiple times, but you put pretty much any player with Bergeron and Marchand, it's probably going to be a pretty good line.
crazy to
Uh,
think.
yeah, and when you add the domino effect of you get Smith down with Coyle, which I think is maybe it's almost like the situation with Coyle earlier this year. Like, is he a great 2C? Probably not, but is he a very good 3C? Yes. Same with like Smith. Granted, he was great last year with Krejci, but all things considered, is Smith your should be like your top line wing? Maybe, but maybe it's the fit. We'll see. But if he's your third line wing, pretty good.
It'd be
And for as
perfect.
much as I think people looked at how good Marchand, Bergeron, and Smith were at the start of this, reshuffle with the lineup back in January, you look over like an extended sample size. They've only outscored opponents 6-5 in about 166 minutes of 5-on-5 ice time together. Again, you're on the winning side of that stat line, but it's not the usual lopsided numbers you usually see with that top six. So again, who knows? Maybe it's some time off will do them some good. I think over those last couple of games, whether it's Smith, who's clearly still dealing with a nagging injury, or Marchand, who clearly wasn't 100% in wake of that Hathaway hit and probably made the most of this time off. Who knows? They could come out on fire out of this break and all of a sudden, score 3 5-on-5 goals, and all of a sudden that those numbers jump back up. But if Cassidy still wants to switch things up, I wouldn't be surprised if he looks at Steen and Smith as a potential switch there in that top six.
I love that. You told me that before we started because I wanted to make sure that our predictions weren't exactly the same. And I love that idea because it's outside the box. It's different. Steen has that skill. We've said, I don't know if we said this before the season, but we said it during the season that Oskar Steen's a guy who has that top six potential, the skill, the speed, the way he plays makes sense. And with Bergeron and Marchand, that's kind of like a soft landing into being a top six player, right? I mean, you get to play with Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron, like that's pretty nice way to start being a top six player. And I think he would be a fit on that line. And I also think everybody forgets this. Craig Smith was initially brought here to be Charlie Coyle's right
Hmm.
wing. And I think for him, it would be pretty good if he could regain Craig Smith. And I know those two didn't work amazing together last season. But hey, maybe this year with a better guy on the left side, which maybe they'll go out and get someone. Who knows? They also got Taylor Hall. So we'll see about that. Okay, my next prediction, my second regular season prediction is Taylor Hall will have exactly 34 points in the final 39 games. I did not want to go with he's gonna do really well over the rest of the season. I wanted to put it, if I'm doing a prediction, I'm gonna go right for the number.
There you go.
34 points. At 34 points the rest of the regular season. He's currently at 29 right now, I
Yes.
believe.
Yep.
29 points. That 10 and 19. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. He was great in January. He had 4 goals and 9 assists in the month of January. So will he be a point per game guy? No. But I do think that there are going to be games where he has many multi-point games. At the end of the day, he's got 34 points. Because, again, if he's working with Pasternak, come on. I mean, look at
Yes.
the way he's looked completely different. I think he's looked way more comfortable. And again, we've talked about this a number of times, but Pastrnak being on his right takes a little attention off Hall on the left. And, if you have Eric Holla down the middle, or you have someone that we might talk about in our next predictions about a trade, you might even have a better, I mean, there's a good chance Taylor Hall has an even better second line center in the second half. So definitely someone I look at and say, that's a guy who's going to have a really, really, really good second half. So we've done our predictions. Do you have any more predictions that you'd like to throw out for the regular season that are small or
I
anything like
think
that?
probably like a small one is it's yet to be seen how they kind of juggle the defensive pairs, but I think the smart move to do going forward is just keep McAvoy and Grizzly together. Like that's one pairing you don't have to worry about because it's not just the fact that they play so well together. The ice is tilted so far in their direction. It's almost like it's good that they don't run them as much as like the Tays Makar pairing where it's like
Oh
30 minutes a
God.
night. Like thank God they don't do that, but I'm sure it's pretty tempting not to when you look at just how much they tilt the ice in their favor. And as much as people want to talk about whether that pairing is best suited for the playoffs, what have you, right now, if you're just trying to get points, keep McAvoy and Grizzly together. Because I think right
Yeah.
now, at even strength, they're out scoring teams 21-9, out shooting them 205 to 104, which is
Ooh,
pretty
okay.
sizable. And the Bruins have a 62 to 29 edge in high danger scoring chances when they're out there together. So pretty good. And considering whether it's trying to find the right partner for Brendan Carlo, which has been kind of an ongoing thing, or is forward best with a guy like Clifton? Is Vakanainen, is he going to be healthy and is he going to be available? What have you? Uh, Best thing to do is cross off that top of that list and get McAvoy and Grizzly together to have one question mark out of the way. Just keep them together. Even if
The
they
only reason
acquired like a legitimate defenseman, like let's say they acquired Chikrin and give up a whole bunch for him, have him
Mhm.
with Carlo. Have a legit like just top four all set by doing that and keep McAvoy and Grizzly together.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, I think that'd be a great idea. The only reason I'm kind of against Chris McAvoy, too many good things are happening for BU these days. Wilmer Skoog, Trevor Zegras,
I don't want to say anything on this podcast, Evan, because I know the Bean Pod is as we're recording is later tonight. This will be dropping on Tuesday, so I don't want to be flexing all of a sudden Harvard beats them. So I'm
what's
just
funny, like
saying
with the
though.
being
I'm just saying though, this BU's playing pretty well these days. That's all I'm
they
saying.
are 10-1. 10-1 in their last 11, right? I think that's or 10-0-1. They haven't lost in regulation in forever. Um But you know what's funny? The Bean Pot's happening. I will not be there because Turner has some COVID travel restrictions because everybody knows I live so far from the Garden. Uh,
Yes,
but
exactly.
but I will be live blogging it and doing a big all coverage for it over at ncaa.com. So remember to go follow along with it over there. Um, I haven't fully thought on my prediction for the Bean Pot yet, but it pains me to say if I had to pick a team, it'd probably be BU. Would. And it's unfortunate.
I'm not
It's
gonna say anything. I'm gonna. You know what? If I'm on the podcast next week, I'll have to wait till next Thursday's poke the bear. And if that's the case, and they do in the bean pot, then I'll show up and I'll be you God. But I'm not saying anything until then because last time there was a legit bean pot, the Terriers brought Northeastern to overtime, and then that ref had to get last call at the fours and fucked everything up for
mm,
them with that bullshit call. So I'm not saying anything,
CBT to the
Evan.
fours.
Yeah,
CBT to the fours.
exactly. Yeah, well, that guy
Um,
made it a priority to get there. So
yeah, apparently. But anyways, yes, the Bean Pot Monday and next Monday. So I will go first with my trade deadline prediction because I gave you the benefit of regular season going first. Only fair. It's my show. Um,
yes.
anyways, I actually did the entire trade, so this is why it's funny because
Oh,
I picked the package. So this is gonna be good. This
okay.
this is correct. You guys know this is exactly how it's gonna go down. So get ready. The Bruins. Someone's gonna highlight this and be like, "Look, Evan's reporting trades on his
Yeah.
podcast."
Yeah, exactly.
The Bruins will send a 2022 first, a 2023 second, Jake DeBrusk, and prospect Jack Studnicka for drumroll JT Miller. Maybe that's a lot. You're gonna be bidding with a lot of teams. Also, there's been talks that Vancouver might want to re-sign him. So you're
Yeah.
gonna have to. This is not like a Taylor Hall deal with Buffalo. You're gonna have to give up a good amount. That is a good amount, but DeBrusk already wants out. You've kind of prepared for life without that. You have other forwards in the bottom six that can do the job. Your first, you're gonna have to give up at some point if you're gonna want to actually get better for this year and not give up Lowry or Lysell or Swayman. You're gonna have to give up a first. A second, you don't love giving up. That's probably to sweeten the deal a bit. And Stanika is the same thing. But that is my what I predict. That's one of two deals because I think you have two deals, right? You have
Yes.
two deals that are okay. So we'll switch off deals. But that's my big. That's the big deal I think the Bruins make. I think they go out and get JT Miller. We've talked about him at length. He would help the second line a ton. I mean, imagine Taylor Hall, JT Miller, Pasternak. I mean, that's a different hockey team. So, do I think that do I think that price is worth it? That's a lot. But you do have Miller for next season.
Hmm.
Might be able to re-up him as well. So, and Sweeney likes guys with term. So for me, I will go with that is the big deal the Bruins make. What is yours?
Yeah. I don't have the actual return, but I imagine it's going to be something along the same lines of 2022 first prospect, whether it's Sadnika, maybe Vakanainen if he's healthy and his stock's going up, something like that.
Yeah.
Player on the team could be, if it's not DeBrusque, like Steen, maybe a guy like that a team could target. But I'm going to go with Thomas Hurdle as the guy they acquire. I'm conflicted because I think JT Miller might be the best fit for what you've said in terms of, because I think the Bruins, I think they'll look to acquire any legit top six center. That's why I think, especially in wake of the All Star game, you've heard a lot about Claude Giroux as being a guy we got to bring in. It makes sense, right? It's a good fit. He's a good player. Same with like a guy like Joe Pavelski, who like might cost quite a bit because he's having a crazy good year, even though he's 37.
Insane.
Yeah, he's
Insane.
and again, if you acquired him, that's good. Like they're both very, very good players. But I think what you've seen it before with the Bruins, whether it's acquiring a guy like Rick Nash or Yarmer Yager, like these guys that are pending UFAs or guys that either they're going to go back to, like, I wouldn't be
Yager.
surprised if, yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if like Giroux goes right back to Philly if he gets traded. Like it's one of those situations where, um, so if I'm the Bruins, I don't know. Like I think if you're giving up assets, and I think for all those guys, Giroux, Pavelski, Hurdle, Miller, the the baseline price is still going to be a first round pick. I think. I don't think you're gonna
Mhm.
finagle out without giving up still a steep cost anyway. So if you're already giving up enough, either you're acquiring a guy with term like JT Miller, which like might be a lot because I feel like Vancouver's got the leverage in terms of we got him one for another year, and two, we don't have to deal him. We have other guys we could move if we want to free up cap space. Um, but if Hurdle rather is available, and again, he's probably the best available player, And if you try to re-sign him, like it fits in line with what the Bruins I think want to do in terms of I don't think they want to do a full rebuild. If you're able to get Tomas Hertl, who's a legit top six franchise player, and it's going to take a lot of I think cap gymnastics this summer, whether it's moving contracts, buying out guys. You could have to be clearing a lot of cap, but if you're able to get Hertl, who tries to put you over the top this year, and then you sign him long term going forward, all of a sudden you've got another. I don't know if like the contention window is open, but you've got a legit strong framework of a team in place for the next 4 or 5 years at a minimum with Hall, Marchand, Pasternak, Hurdle, all those guys, McAvoy, Swayman, if he's still there. Like you've got pieces of a very good team. Like
If he doesn't revolt.
yeah, exactly. So I think whether it's him or Miller, I think the Bruins would be happy with either one. But Hurdle's more complicated because you have to deal with that pending contract. You don't want to lose him if you're giving up a lot. But if you're able to retain him, you all of a sudden you've got another quite a few years to go. So I think Hurdle's the guy they scoop up. But I think I'd be shocked if they don't exit this deadline with at least one top six center, just what the price is and who they feel comfortable bringing in.
Yeah, see, I look at it like this. What's the one thing holding the Bruins back from being surefire contenders in the next 3 to 4 years? No depth at center. Like that's the biggest thing. That's their biggest issue. It has not worked. And you need that. You need to be deep down the middle. Everybody knows that. Coyle, the signing there, he's not really panning out to be a top six center. Sednika obviously didn't really pan out either, and they're not even really giving him a chance. So who really knows there? But I do think that a guy like Hurdle changes a lot for you. And same with Miller. If you can get JT Miller and get him to re-sign. It's funny though, I tweeted over the weekend that Claude Giroux would make a fantastic Bruin. I mean that more in the sense of like as a fit for like
Yeah.
this year, not like forever. Maybe he re-signed. Maybe he would re-sign. I don't know. Maybe he'd really like Boston. I mean, Boston is like a step up from Philadelphia, so maybe that's like everyone says Boston's like a souped up Philly. So maybe he's like, oh wow, maybe the grass is greener elsewhere. So who knows? He's also
You
a
got a
little
bunch
older,
of
but
Philly fans like attacking our comments now.
yes, good. It's like the Islanders fans back in the
Yes.
playoffs.
Well,
They
they don't
just
have
go
much. They
ham in the
don't.
comment
They
section.
don't have much to cheer about now. We're gonna get attacked
Yeah,
by Islanders fans now. So
unfortunate,
yeah,
unfortunate stuff. So my other deal. So I have a second deal, and I did do a package. This might be way off. I thought maybe this would be correct, but the Bruins send Jacob Lauko and a 2022 fourth to the Red Wings for left shot defenseman Nick Leddy. And in that deal, the reason that Lauko would have to be given up is because the Red Wings would retain $4 million of his $5 million cap hit. I believe it's $5 million or 5.25. I think
yeah.
it's $5 million. So again, is he your left shot defenseman number one of the future? No, but for this season, and maybe if you re-signed him to a cheaper deal, that's something. Like that's a minor deal.
Yeah.
It's not Chikrin, obviously. It's not Giordano even, because again Giordano might just freaking go right back to Calgary. But at the same time, I do think Nick Leddy makes you better. You can put Leddy with Carlo, and you have a top four right there, and then you have the freedom to put Forbort on the third pairing, or Vakanainen with Clifton, or Clifton or Vakanainen and Forbort. So you have options there if you get Leddy. And in a deal like that, you're not giving up. You're not giving up a ton, except just a prospect who's really fast, who could be really good. But you're getting the Red Wings to eat $4 million of that money. So I think that is a good. That's a good. The two deals I gave make you pretty good. They make you a lot better than you are now. So
Hmm.
never a bad thing. What's your second deal?
Yeah, I think as much as the market for like true top four defensemen is pretty barren once you get past Chikrin. Maybe it changes if the Ducks, who I don't think are going to be sellers, but if they think they can't re-sign Hampus Lindholm and all of a sudden he gets dangled out there, then that's a very obvious fit. That's a guy who I think, as a pending UFA, you give up assets for because I think Lindholm's a beast and I think fits right in with what you're looking for. But I'm going for another depth defenseman, a guy that could like solidify the end of your depth chart there. So I'm going with Scott Mayfield, who's on the
Ooh,
Islanders. Good player,
okay, like it.
29, right shot, I believe, 6'5", over I think like 220. Good defensive defenseman, but also has a little bit of scoring pop. I think he's averaged like 15 points per game over the last 2 years, I want to say. Signed through next year at I think like under 2 million in cap. So it's going to cost a lot to get him. Like it's not going to be like, oh, we'll give you a third and a fourth and insert like throwaway prospect here. Like I think it's still going to take a lot to get even a guy like that. Like, look at Tampa last year. They got David Savard, who was pretty much a third pairing guy for them. Helped him out quite a bit, but they gave up what, a first and a third to get him. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's what the cost for Mayfield's going to be, but I think a guy like Mayfield, who, if he's solidifying your third pair, and all of a sudden you've got kind of a mini shutdown pairing there of Forbert and Mayfield, feel pretty good about your chances, right? Like, I feel like
Yeah.
that can only help your team, especially when you've got that logjam on the left side with. I think you need someone different than another puck moving guy. You need just some more heft back there. So I think, again, there's plenty of other guys out there that fit that bill of what Mayfield brings, but I think he's a guy that makes plenty of sense of how they could acquire a guy that really shores up the lower depths of the depth chart, but also helps put you over the top if you add him to the mix.
Mayfield's kind of an off the board pick like Mike Riley was last year. And by the way, I
Yeah.
forgot Mike Riley in my when I was talking about the left side on D. Mike
Yes.
Riley could also factor in as a third pairing guy there, maybe with Forbert. I don't know. I mean, again, if you did get a guy like Letty, you'd kind of push things down, and you'd have
Yeah.
Forbert, Riley, and Clifton and Vaakanainen for those last two spots on D. They love internal competition. Maybe that would work. But yeah, Scott Mayfield, love the idea of that. I think Bruins fans love him too. 6'5". Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They'd be freaking selling out of jerseys from him in the pro shop. So
Yes.
that would be a good one to have him for next season too. And again, he also is just a consistent defender, not like Clifton, who is a little bit streaky, which is tough to rely on in the playoffs because he's either hot like he was against the Hurricanes and the Blues, or he's cold like a lot of other times. So those are our deadline deals. I think those are. I think we both had realistic ones. I think those make sense. Not crazy, none for Eichel or McDavid.
No.
Simple stuff. Simple stuff. I don't think they get Chikrin. I think that is just. I don't think that happens.
I think Arizona wants Swayman, and I think they've got all the
Yeah.
leverage that they're not going to budge for anything unless they get knocked over. So,
Yeah.
and I think Florida
Exactly.
will outbid you on anything anyway. So,
Yeah. That is ridiculous. Also, you Florida, and the one problem before we get to our playoff predictions. One problem is most teams can bid more than you. Most teams have
yes,
more assets. So that's why some of these deals are expensive, because you might have to give up Stadnika and DeBrusk and a first in the same deal, because that's just the nature of other teams having a lot of things to give up and you don't have much. So you got to kind of throw all your chips to the table. What is your playoff prediction? I'll let you go first on this. What do you think happens?
well, Evan, at the start of the year during my very bold preseason predictions, I had the Bruins losing to the Vegas Golden Knights, who I predicted at the time were going to acquire Jack Eichel. So I was correct there.
Yes, you did. You actually did predict this, so you're
And you
100%
know what?
right.
Is it the best? Is it the best pick? Maybe not. But I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna say Tomas Hertl's a perfect fit, and they go on a crazy cup run and lose in 7 games to the Vegas Golden Knights
On home ice.
on home ice. Max Pacioretty scores the goal in overtime, and proper revenge for getting knocked into the glass by Zdeno Chara. That's how it ends. So
Finally. And
I think that's probably I guess when you lose a cup in 7 games, it's not a very optimistic viewpoint. But I think a lot of people don't think the Bruins would even make it to the Stanley Cup final. So I'm gonna go with that.
there you go. And you know what? Maybe the Bruins, just to finish off how heartbreaking that'll be, maybe the Bruins will acquire Chara at the deadline, just so
You can,
Pacioretty
yeah,
can push him after the OT goal and Chara can go bananas and
yes,
after
just a
the
fight
Stanley
during
Cup
the
is won.
handshake line,
Yes, yes. Like the
like
Canadians,
Lucic. Yeah,
the Canadians Bruins in 2014 with Dale Weiss and Lucic and everybody. So I'm a little less optimistic, but I will say this: the Bruins are going to be good after these deadline acquisitions. I'm going off of they acquire Miller and Letty. They're going to be good. They'll upset the Panthers in the first round.
yeah,
That's gonna. The Panthers are a really good team. They're so good offensively. They have not had any playoff success yet,
yeah.
so I don't have that fear of the Panthers. I'm not like, oh, the Panthers, like they're nasty. No one's saying they aren't, but they've yet to prove a thing in the playoffs. So I say the Bruins upset them in 6 games. And then they face Tampa in the second round because Toronto loses in the first, and they face Tampa and they lose in 6 games. So they extend it to 6. They're not losing in 5; they're losing in 6. So I think the Bruins end up losing in the second round to Tampa. So that's going to be their thing. Yours is more fun. I like your prediction a little bit better.
I mean, I think that's the only way they can like chart their course if they're stuck in this second wild card spot. Which who knows? I feel like they're still going to end up being a wild card team just because the teams in front of me, Atlantic, seem like they're just rolling. But the easiest
Yeah.
way for them to kind of climb out through that is upset Panthers in the first round, and then you like hope to God that Toronto finally breaks through and wins the first round, and they like somehow beat Tampa, and then the Bruins just beat them in the next round. That's like what
Yes.
would happen. Is like
Yes.
Toronto eventually has to break through at some point and win a round, and like against Tampa, sizable feat, be very great, but the
Just
inevitable
lose
will
to the
happen. They'll
Bruins.
lose
Just
to the
lose to the
Bruins again.
Bruins.
Exactly, exactly.
It's funny. I remember saying this back in 2019, the going into the 1920 season, saying at some point the Maple Leafs have to break through. Like that roster is not terrible. Like at some point they're going to break through. Maybe this is the year, and I haven't even hit that yet. I'm years off of it. So I do think that the way is you have to beat the Panthers. That's the big one, and I think it's doable. I don't think that that's like completely out of their own possibility. So yeah, I think the Bruins should be better after the deadline. I think they're going to be making moves. So we'll see what happens. But Connor, before you go, we're not going to predict the offseason yet.
No,
That's not
no,
not
heavens
even
no.
in the realm. I haven't even thought that far ahead. But Connor, what can the people look forward to with you over at BSJ before we head out?
Yeah, we'll obviously have a couple of previews of top questions the Bruins are going to face going into the second half. Have a few features I'm working on now that we are, I think, done with Zoom for the time being, which is great. We
Ooh.
should have more opportunities for one-on-ones and stuff like that. So more time for more features. So all that stuff will be over at BSJ. So subscribe to BostonSportsJournal.com. Want to follow me on Twitter? You can do that at ConnorRyan_93.
Go do all that for CLNS Media. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You Bruins Beat listeners have a great rest of your week.